Dust billowed across the dirt road as the old cowboy rode in his horse's hooves clattering against the parched earth. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the sparse desert landscape. Jack Thompson, a man worn by years of hard work, looked out across the endless horizon, unsure of what the future held. His boots were weathered, his hat stained by countless days in the sun. He had left behind a small town where jobs were scarce, hoping that a fresh start would bring him something better. His saddle creaked under the weight of his belongings, his only possession in this world. The calloused hands that gripped the reins had once built fences and tamed wild horses. Now they were reaching for a new life. The ranch was ahead, a modest but well-kept property surrounded by low hills. It wasn't much, but Jack had heard whispers of good work here, an opportunity to start anew. He could see a woman standing by the barn, looking out at him with an unreadable expression on her face. As he approached, the woman turned and walked toward him, her steps deliberate. She was dressed in practical attire, and her presence commanded attention. Jack dismounted and tipped his hat. "You looking for work?" she asked, her voice strong but not unfriendly. "Yes, ma'am," Jack said, tipping his hat in respect. "I've been looking for a place to settle down. I'm a hard worker, and I can do anything from mending fences to herding cattle." The woman studied him for a moment, her eyes sharp, sizing him up. "I can always use an extra pair of hands. But I have to warn you, this isn't your average ranch. Things are different here." Jack raised an eyebrow, curious but not deterred. "Different? How?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she glanced around as if considering whether to trust him with the truth. "I don't just own this ranch. I own half of the state." Jack stared at her, disbelief momentarily clouding his judgment. He had heard rumors of wealthy landowners, but this was something entirely different. "Half of the state," he echoed, incredulous. The woman nodded, her eyes locking onto his with a mixture of pride and something deeper, something unspoken. "Yes, I inherited the land from my father. But it's not the land itself that makes me powerful, it's what the land represents." Jack wasn't sure what she meant, but he wasn't in a position to ask too many questions. A job was a job, and for a cowboy like him, work was hard to come by. He extended his hand. "If you'll have me, I'm ready to get started." The woman hesitated before shaking his hand. "All right, Jack, welcome to the ranch. But be warned, things out here are never as simple as they seem." As Jack took his first steps into this new world, he couldn't help but feel a strange unease settling in his chest. The vastness of the land stretched endlessly before him. But there was something about it, the way it felt too big, too powerful, that made him uneasy. It wasn't just the size of the property that bothered him. It was the way the land seemed to hold secrets, secrets that Jack couldn't yet understand. Days turned into weeks as Jack worked tirelessly on the ranch. His muscles ached from the labor, but his mind was often more exhausted than his body. He had learned quickly that there was no room for weakness in this place. The woman, who introduced herself as Claire, kept a distance from him, her presence both commanding and mysterious. She was the boss, but there was something about her, something hidden that made her an enigma. The more Jack worked, the more he noticed the oddities of the ranch. The land stretched far and wide, but there were parts of it that were eerily quiet, as if they were untouched by time. There were areas where the grass grew greener, where the cattle seemed to gather, but no one spoke of those parts. Jack's curiosity got the best of him one evening after finishing his work for the day. He decided to explore one of the secluded areas of the ranch. As he made his way through the tall grass, he noticed a strange stone structure in the distance. It wasn't a building, but a series of large, flat stones arranged in a circle. Something about it felt ancient, as if it had been there for centuries, long before the ranch ever existed. A voice startled him from behind. "What are you doing here, Jack?" It was Claire. She had appeared silently, as if she had been watching him all along. Her eyes were hard, like cold stone, and there was a look of warning in them. "I was just curious," Jack said, feeling the weight of her gaze. "What is this place?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped closer to him, her expression unreadable. "This land holds more than just cattle and fences, Jack. It holds power, and power has a way of changing people." Jack frowned. "What kind of power?" Claire hesitated, her gaze shifting to the stone circle. "The kind of power that controls everything. The kind of power that comes from owning half of the state. But it's not the kind of power you want to mess with." Jack didn't fully understand what she meant, but he couldn't shake the feeling that there was something dangerous about this place. As the days passed, he began to feel a sense of dread whenever he rode across the land. The ranch that once seemed like a fresh start now felt like a trap, a place where secrets were buried deep beneath the surface. Then, one night, as Jack was working late, he overheard a conversation that would change everything. He had been repairing a fence near the barn when he heard Claire speaking to someone in hushed tones. He couldn't make out the words, but he could tell from her voice that it wasn't a conversation she wanted anyone to hear. His curiosity got the better of him, and he crept closer to the barn. What he heard next made his blood run cold. "You can't keep this secret forever, Claire," the voice said, a man's voice. "The land belongs to more than just you. There are others who want their share." Claire's voice was low, but resolute. "I won't let anyone take it from me. I've worked too hard to build what my father left behind." Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he tried to make sense of the conversation. Who was this man? And what secret was Claire hiding? As he retreated into the shadows, Jack realized that the job he had taken, the fresh start he had hoped for, was entangled in something far more dangerous than he had ever imagined.